Frank's Red Hot is the perfect blend of flavor and heat, so you can use an entire bottle to make recipes like buffalo chicken dip or buffalo nachos, or even things that don't start with buffalo. Frank's Red Hot, I put that on everything.
Craig!
Jeff!
Hey!
We won a football game!
We did it! We did it! Woo!
Hey,
Yeah!
I wouldn't be a proper talking head without calling back to, like, things that I almost got right and never mentioned things that I got wrong, but hey.
Oh, you should absolutely.
I said 49-28 and it was 44-24. That's pretty close. That's probably the
close.
closest I've ever been.
Pretty damn close.
And thank you to Jeff, one of our listeners, for posting our score predictions on Die Hard Cougs. Just, our favorite website, our favorite Facebook group.
I love it. I didn't. We saw that it was posted there. Did you see any of the reactions there?
People were, on the whole, pretty negative. Not to our. They're putting there. There was a lot of Cougs thinking we were going to barely win or lose.
Okay.
So I think coming into this game. Oh, by the way, this is Podcast versus Everyone, episode 130. That's a nice round number. I am Craig Powers. With me, as always, is Jeff Nusser. And
that's me.
So to continue that point, I think coming into the game against Portland State, we were in a pretty down place as a fan base, as a football program. There was not a lot of belief, and even because when I predict 49-28, the 28 points, I was kind of God, if we give up 28 points to this, we truly have a bad defense. So even I felt like all day I felt like shitty about that prediction. I'm like, I'm gonna look like such an ass, and now like people who don't even listen to my podcast know my prediction now. The people that don't even know me or like me, I'm sure some of you listen to this and hate me. That's cool, that means you made it, right?
Yes.
But yeah, so I was like not like as the day went on, I felt worse and worse about the game, like. Even though we were having fun at the tailgate, we watched Oregon beat Ohio State, and we saw Colorado go up early on A&M. That one was a bummer. We can run down those results in a bit, but to come out and just take care of business. That was really nice because it was nice.
Yes.
It was like the game was boring in the second half, which is much better than last week. In the fourth quarter when I was pacing. So, and just mad. So, yeah, it was nice. Kind of, I don't even think the score, it probably wasn't even that close, to be honest.
It was not.
Yeah, they kind of tacked on a couple gimme touchdowns against their backup defense.
Not even backup, but backup. It was deep. It was the deep backups playing in the fourth quarter.
Although that did get those touchdowns did
lots
mean
of walk-ons and stuff.
Did mean we got to see Jaden DeLora play some more, which I'll tell you, man, that kid in person is extremely electric. He is just a chaotic, as Rolovich said in his halftime, or I think it was halftime interview with Jessamine McIntyre.
Yes,
he said that they realize that he plays better in a chaotic environment and chaos.
He says he thrives in chaos.
He thrives in chaos, which he absolutely does. He made a play on I think their first touchdown drive when he was dead to rights sacked, and he pulled out of it, ran for 22 yards, and you're like, this is something that I don't know. We've never had a quarterback at WSU that could do that, at least not in a long time. So he's just so fun to watch in person, and especially when he is like clearly more athletic than the defense. Like it was pretty fun to watch, and he put together a nice game, save for one really bad
very dumb
and
throw.
I do have some other thoughts about how he has potential to be better, because it still feels like he sticks to his first read quite a bit and doesn't, and then kind of just bails out if that doesn't work, or forces it as he did with the interception in the first half.
Yeah.
So and I will say after that interception, I think it was 7-7 or some. It was like, crap. Like we're wasting an opportunity to score. This is how it happens, right? But ultimately, Portland State, as good as they are offensively for an FCS team, didn't really have enough, especially offensive line and all that, to chow it, to keep the game close more than a quarter or two.
Yep, it was as we said on the preview show on Friday. We were like, okay, so we're not sure we can see where the ceiling will be, but we definitely could have a sense of where the floor is, right after this one. And it was really nice to see a game where the physical superiority just sort of took over. So my watching experience was fairly interesting. So I ended up going to the Sounders game, sitting in our Sounders seats on Saturday, just sort of last minute. I was not supposed to go. I was supposed to stay home and watch the Cougs. And then I ended up going to the Sounders. So I was like, well, Sounders kick off at 2. Cougars start at 3. I'll maybe just kind of, pull the Cougs up on my phone and kind of do one eye on each game for, the last, I don't know, hour or so, 45 minutes or so of the Sounders match. And, so watching it on my phone was just sort of like, okay, yeah, we're kind of cruising. It's not all that impressive, blah, blah, blah. And then I rewatched it this morning. So we're recording this on Sunday night. Rewatched it this morning, actually watching it. Right. And I was like, oh, yeah. Watching it on my tiny little phone while being distracted by a soccer game maybe sort of distracted me a little bit from they were pretty dominant.
Yeah.
like the first quarter was a little messy. Offensive line stuff was still kind of getting worked out, and we were like, I remember I was watching the first quarter going, geez, man, what the hell? Maybe our offensive line really is that bad. And then second through fourth quarter, they were fairly dominant. There were only a couple times Delora really had any pressure on him at all. And he escaped those for the most part.
He's a tough guy to sack, as we've said many times.
Yeah, they were opening up some pretty big holes, particularly for Deion McIntosh. I have some ideas about on that one versus Max Borghi on kind of maybe why that's happening. But there were some pretty good size holes at some times. And anyway, they just they more or less look physically dominant overall, which is exactly what you want to see. So that's good. So I think maybe the floor isn't quite as low as we feared it might be, so that's great.
One thing I think we needed from Deion was a hurdle, because Nakia Watson got a hurdle, Max Borghi got a hurdle, Deion he was just staying on his feet. So.
Yeah. That's kind of his thing though. Okay, so that's where I feel like he does not get enough credit. So he's a really good running back. Better, I think, than most people give him credit for. And I think it's because he's not flashy, right? So Max does things that kind of make you go, wow, right?
A lot of jump cuts and
cuts, stutter steps, hurdles,
he has a nice burst,
Yeah, the acceleration is there. The top end speed is there. He does things that can make you go, wow. But McIntosh is effective in a little bit different way. And I also think this is a little bit of what was going on with the two of them running. McIntosh is effective in a different way. He's a little bit, even though he's not that big, he's not a huge running back, but he's just got a little bit more of a sledgehammer style, and he runs really upright. So he takes a lot of hits. So where a lot of guys run behind their shoulder pads, Borghi does that, right? Like he gets real low and he's running behind his shoulder pads. And so if a guy's making contact with him, they're more than likely making contact with his chest or his shoulder pads, right? McIntosh runs really straight up and down, really tall, which you don't see very often. But what he does is his balance is remarkable. So like when he gets like hit on the legs, like he has this amazing way of like taking shots on his legs and staying on his feet, which is like not what usually happens, right? With running backs, like usually, you cut them down on the leg and down they go. And he's just got this way of like taking these shots to his lower half, absorbing them and staying on his feet. So, he's got this really great, just like north-south style. Like I say, he's not a real punishing runner, but he kind of runs like he is, and he absorbs these shots. And when he gets going straight up and down and gets ahead of steam, it's really tough for people to bring him down, particularly if they're not able to square him up. I feel like, and I don't know, someone smart, maybe Jesse can do this week. I don't know. Maybe he wants to follow up on his awesome Borgie piece that he did last week, kind of breaking down all of Borgie's runs, which if you have not read that, it's super awesome. Made me smarter, which is, always a good thing. It felt to me like the runs that McIntosh was being asked to run were different kinds of runs than what they were doing with Max. So with Max, it felt like they were trying to find him a crease where he could break a home run. So counters, traps, things like that, where he might be able to squirt out and go or get something wide. With McIntosh, it felt like they were calling runs where he could kind of get up ahead of steam and just go. So I don't know if that's accurate or not. Maybe I'm just full of shit, but at least that's the way I'm sort of explaining away how it seemed like McIntosh was running through these gaping holes and Borgie was like not having gaping holes to run through. I don't know. Perhaps they were, maybe they were different styles of runs or maybe they weren't. I don't know, but it was really fun watching the two of them do their thing. And I love watching McIntosh because he just gets going and dudes just like bounce off him. It's crazy.
Yeah. And because he was playing so well, I think he got probably was taking a few carries away. That they obviously they're making a point to get him in a game because they'll basically interchange for drives. It seems like so McIntosh will stay in for a drive, Borgie will stay in for a drive. And as we've talked about before, this is a one-back offense, except for, very special goal line situations where you're not going to see two backs in the backfield. So as good as both of these guys are, it's kind of a bummer. They're not really ever going to both be a threat at the same time. So if you look at the running back touches, 8 for McIntosh, 71 yards. Borgie had 2 catches and 13 carries. Are we fine with 15 carries for Borgie or 15 touches for Borgie? Or is it still going to need to be more than that in the future? Or I'm glad I was pleased with how much they ran the ball.
Yes. I think that's the takeaway.
Yeah.
I think that's the takeaway. Like, instead of focusing on how many touches is Borgie getting, I think it should be how many touches are the running backs getting. I think that's going to be the key. So, Borgie got 11 rushes or 10 rushes last week, right? Yeah. And then McIntosh had like 4.
Yep.
So it was like 14. Well, on Saturday it was 21 plus 4 for Watson. So it's like, okay, so if Borgie and McIntosh are getting 21 carries, if they're getting at least 20
And it seemed like they
carries,
were doing that early, too. It wasn't just racking up carries at the end of the game. Potentially with Watson it was, but like with Borgie and McIntosh, it seemed they were running the ball earlier and more often than they were against Utah State.
Yep. So McIntosh, Borgie combined for 23 touches, so 21 rushes, 23 touches. If they're between 20 and 25 touches, I think that signals really good things. So I think to me that's going to be one of the things because I don't think that DeLaura is in a position to carry the team with 40 plus passes. Like I just don't think. No. I don't think he's there. But I think what you saw on Saturday was a guy who, again, he only had to throw the ball 29 times. And was able to get it down the field. So
and
that part was cool.
Made some nice plays too, because even some of his runs were designed runs, because he made some really nice plays in the zone read. Yeah, and so he had a touchdown. Looked very athletic doing that. Man, he's bulked up too. Yep. Like he is not the scrawny kid that he was last season. He like in person, he looks every bit the part. of a Pac-12 starting QB. But again, he has a lot of room to grow, especially in the passing game. It was kind of easy against Portland State. That first read was open often, or in the scramble drill, because that's where the receivers were able to showcase kind of their superior athleticism. They were able to get open, or like Calvin Jackson Jr. just make an insane catch. But yeah, on the receivers part, it was really nice to see Travell Harris have a good game. Yeah, because he was. It was disappointing the first game. He didn't really get into the game at all. They tried a little bit, but he was able to showcase his superior speed and athleticism.
Yes.
Time and time again. Big returns. One in particular that set up a really important time in the game to get a touchdown back on the board. Help get a touchdown back on the board when Portland State had scored. So, it was nice to see him have a game. Absolutely torched that dude in the fourth quarter on that fourth down touchdown. And then he also made a real nice leaping grab in the end zone too. So he had it all on display. Jackson, only 3 catches, but one of them was a huge one, and he had a touchdown. He made 2 leaping, spinning grabs. It was good to see Deshaun Stribling kind of use his size in this game. And then, the other guys were getting late touches, Mitchell Quinn and Joey Hobart. Yep. Donovan Ollie was pretty absent. That was interesting. But so it seems like they're kind of...
It seemed like he didn't play a whole bunch.
Yeah.
I don't remember seeing him on the field all that much.
It seems clear that Delora is not a big fan of that. I don't know the X and Z, which side is which, but he's not a fan of the right side outside receiver. Like he's looking to Jackson over there.
Yes, and Stribling is on the left. He's looking to Stribling a lot. So Stribling
because Ollie and Moore over there mostly, and they got a combined 1 catch. I don't know what the targets were, but I don't think it was many.
Yep, I think Moore was targeted once, maybe in the second half. Stribling, I think, is the thing I think I like about him right now is that he just looks the part. I know that sounds a little weird, but I mean, as a true freshman, you kind of worry a little bit, we've had a lot of plenty, raw kids come in as freshmen when Leach was the coach. When I look at Stribling, I'm like, I can see it. Like I can see the tools. I can see the body. Like I can, he's just kind of got that prototypical wide receiver build, right? Like kind of long and lean, but also kind of, he's got room to add some pounds, long arms, big catch radius, like all the buzzwords, right? Like he may still, take some time to figure some things out, but it's really not hard to see why he was able to ascend, to a starting position right away, which is great. That doesn't speak, hugely of CJ Moore. We were like, we just assumed, okay, CJ Moore is going to be a starter, and that has not happened. But Stribling had 9 targets, like that led the team. So that's that's a fairly big deal, and still only 65 yards. So you'd maybe like to see more of those 9 targets converted into catches, but but I like it. He seems like a real threat, which I guess is the most important thing. And that, in that position last year was Lucas Bacon, right? Which, God bless him, trying hard, but not exactly a guy who strikes fear into the defense. Stribling seems like the kind of guy who can at least keep him honest, and even if it's going to take him some time to grow in. So, and then CJ, Calvin Jackson, I mean, I mean, what do you say about the guy? Like he's showing out in 2 weeks. He had that great touchdown catch this week. He had that crazy catch basically behind his back last week. Like he seems determined to make the most out of his last season.
We saw in 2019 the 4 games he played in. Like he was very good.
He can play.
Towards the end of the season, wearing the socks and all that. So hopefully those socks come back. Those cool striped socks.
The striped socks.
It seemed like it was a perfect uniform to wear them with this weekend. So
I thought so.
Maybe it was just too hot. You don't have those like.
Oh, as a side note, by the way, I have come around on these uniforms. Yeah. I'm okay with crimson and the white helmet. Like we joke, right? Because we call it the ketchup bottle. I am no fan of crimson. That I have decided is just too much, man. It's just too much. But I've decided that I love the white helmet, crimson. And one thing I really like is that, the numbers are white, the helmet's white, the logo is crimson, the jersey's crimson. Like, it's just kind of like this nice, like, two color, and I'm certainly no fashion icon here, but it's like, I like the look with it. I can dig it. So anyway, for whatever that's worth, I think they look real nice.
The white helmets, I mean, they always hit. Like,
yes.
The white with crimson.
Well, the logo just pops,
white
right?
with anthracite looks. They've only done that like once or twice, I think. Looks great. Like those white helmets were a cool addition, and I'm glad they use them a couple times a year.
Yep.
I mean, I think like the white, crimson white is just a beautiful, like it's an awesome set, but there's just like too many bad memories with that.
People die when we wear that uniform
we
combo.
just can't, but it's nice to have.
Cannot tempt the football gods like that.
It's nice to have the Heinz bottle, combo. Yeah, and it looks. I don't know how it looked on TV. It looks real good in person.
Oh, it looked great.
That's why I think the color scheme, these uniforms, they just because they're so consistent, like they look really good on TV.
Yep.
And that's nice, and they look good in person, especially on a sunny day. That crimson is it looks great.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah. So we got to talk about the defense. They didn't get okay. They were fine. Like they didn't. And as we mentioned in the preview, like Portland State has legit talent. Like
that one wide receiver, Alexander. Is Alexander? No,
Alexander's the quarterback.
The quarterback. No, who's the receiver?
Chase. He's because he's a former Nebraska.
Yes, that dude is legit. Yeah, that guy is legit.
Yeah, he was legitimate athletic.
He's going to terrorize the Big Sky.
Oh yeah, because he was. I think he was one of the top recruits in Washington in 2019, and he went to Nebraska for a year and then left. And so he looked very good, and he was a tough cover for our guys, and it was his name they were calling Darian Chase. His name they were calling a lot.
Yep. He had one. He had the one catch.
And Bo Kelly had a huge day too. But I think he racked up quite a few yards at the end.
Yeah.
I want to say.
So Chase had the one catch where they originally called it incomplete, and it was actually a catch down to the 1 yard line.
Yep.
And the guy, I cannot remember. I think it was Shaw Smith Wade who was covering him, and he absolutely abused him. Like he gave him a little shoulder and he beat him to the inside, and it was all over. And I was like, oh, wow. Why didn't you come up here? Why'd you go to Portland State, man? You could have come to Pullman.
Yeah, come to Pullman, man.
Yeah.
Maybe he will. Maybe he will eventually.
Maybe. I suppose it's possible.
We know the Rolo's staff likes to do transfers, so
But yeah, he was a borderline 4-star kid in high school, out of Union High School down in Vancouver. He was, 24/7 rated him as like a .8889.
Yeah,
which
is almost
.89 is a 4-star.
Yeah.
So he was basically within the, margin of error for a 4-star, right? So it's wild that he went. So now that I'm looking, maybe in high school. So Brandon Huffman's report says a big physical corner who can match up against big receivers. So I wonder if, it says as a receiver, doesn't have elite top end speed, but still gets consistent separation, tremendous ball skills.
So
I don't know. Maybe they weren't sure what position he was going to play at first. I don't know, but damn.
Yeah, he's definitely he's legit. He has like Power 5 tool set.
Oh yeah.
Skill set. That
no doubt.
He's either going to be like Cooper Kupp and just destroy the Big Sky for a few years, or he's going to end up somewhere else because he's actually still a freshman by eligibility.
Maybe he just, Portland State, being from Vancouver, maybe he just needed to be close to home.
Family. Like
it's a fucking pandemic, so maybe he just needed to be close to home. But that dude can fucking play.
Yeah, he's impressive, and So overall impressions, defense, they so I knew that they only had 2 sacks, but they had a lot of pressure. I knew that Alexander was going to cause headaches with his ability to avoid the rush. Like, he's very good at that. And he was their offense, right? Like, he had 13 runs, he had 49 passes. Like, we knew he was going to be the show. And I knew he was going to frustrate us at times, and he definitely did. You know, you had people screaming those mobile quarterbacks, they always get us. It's like, honestly, like he would be annoying to almost any defense, like, just because of his, he's not super fast, but he's a savvy runner. He kind of reminds me of the way, like, how good Minshew was, and he was a little faster than Minshew, but just at running once he gets out of the pocket, just picking up, like, he's able to see the field really well. Right. And he made some real nice runs, made some real nice plays on the run. I think he's also an FBS talent at quarterback. Portland State has a pretty good offense, even for an FCS team. It was good to see in the first half that they kind of held him back a little bit, because it wasn't just that they were getting lucky on some turnovers and whatever. There was times when they were actually slowing them down and making life a little difficult for Portland State. They had, they did have fumble off the bat, but it wasn't a disaster. Like, this definitely could have, like, I had visions of, like, if our defense is this bad, this could look like Eastern in 2016, where they just because they have a quarterback and they have some talent at wideout. But we got to talk about potential big issue for going forward, is that Jalen Watson left the game and was in a sling. I've seen in a sling on the sideline. And, when I don't think he was going to be playing at that time anyway, but when he was out at the end, obviously Portland State would have a little bit easier time. Because, again, you didn't see them throw his way very much.
No, they did a couple times, which was more than
Utah State did, like, once, I think.
I think they did.
So that could be a big issue, especially USC coming up, and obviously you would expect him to want to ball out against them. So hopefully it's nothing too serious, and hopefully he can get back quickly.
Yep, I think so. It was funny when it happened. He went in, and it was actually, I'm pretty sure it was Chase that he was tackling. And he went in and he hit him pretty hard and stuck him with his shoulder, tackled him short of the first down. It was a good hit. And then he got up and, was jogging back to the huddle, and, everything looked sort of normal. He's kind of shaking his arm just a little bit. And then, like, about, 10 seconds later, he all of a sudden was like, and, like, ran off the field. And so that says to me that it was probably just a stinger. Now, stingers can be really painful and can linger. So it's not like, it's not like it's like, oh, it's just a stinger, he'll definitely be fine. But I didn't see anything there that led me to think like he separated his shoulder or broke a collarbone or something. Like, I just, there was nothing there to indicate that. In fact, Matt Chazanow on the call, so I was listening to the radio on the drive home from the Sounders, Jessamine McIntyre's like, so Jalen Watson's off the field, blah, blah, blah. And, like, Chaznow's like, okay, I didn't even see him get hurt, Yeah. And I was like, cause at first it was, it was pretty run-of-the-mill tackle, and he was fine, and then all of a sudden he wasn't fine. And so being up by 3 touchdowns when that happened, if I were to guess, and we'll find out more on Monday, by the time you listen to this, you might know the answer. But it's, I don't know. I would imagine Rolovich will talk about it. Well, but
he just tweeted about an hour ago, new profile pic. Like, he's got a picture of himself, with the crop top, just looking like an 80s badass.
Yeah.
So I I feel like that's not the kind of thing you send out if you know you're going to be missing some time. That's definitely some like
I think
full on, like armchair psychology right there. But like it just doesn't seem like you would tweet something out like that if you knew like you just had a devastating injury.
Yeah, I agree. So yeah, I'm all in on him playing this weekend. He'd probably have to be dead to not want to play against USC. So
yeah.
Team he committed to twice, and then ended up at Wazoo. So
yeah. Come on back, Jalen.
Yeah, get him.
But yeah, any other kind of thoughts? On the defense, it's just they're not great. Like I mean, I think we probably know by now that they're not going to be we were hoping for like a league, like an average defense, and I don't think we're getting that.
No, I don't think so. I'm still, so I'm real concerned about our tackles.
Oh man, yeah.
They just like it was funny. Like the first game you go, oh, okay, they were giving up yards and everybody looked shitty and whatever. Like the fact that they just look so, and maybe this is a really bad way to gauge it, but they just look very unimposing. Whatever they are listed at, I am certain that their weight is being overstated. They are just they're just not very big. And they also are not very quick. And so it's kind of like, that may not be the best combo. So when we start facing some of the heavier teams in the conference starting, next week, I don't know, man. I'm a little terrified about what's going to happen on the interior. And then on the edges, Stone and Jackson have better games. Still, yes, we got some pressure. We still struggled, I think, to get pressure with 4. Not that any team gets pressure regularly with 4. So it's not like I'm saying like, oh man, they should be, in the quarterback's face every single play, rushing 4. However, against a team like Portland State, you would expect to more consistently get pressure with just 4, given what should be the physical advantage. And we really didn't, all that much. So that sort of continues to be concerning for me, that our ends just weren't, whipping up on their tackles all day. That sort of, I was really kind of hoping to see that. So, as we talk about going forward, I'm leaning toward defensive line really being an issue for most of the year.
And on top of that, I think outside of Watson, the back end isn't performing all that well. It seems that it's Watson and then the other guys kind of get picked on sometimes, whatever. Because what we saw Darian Chase do, and then a guy that was at their level of physicality was he only had 6 catches for 59 yards, but still it was he was able to make plays against them, and so they have a slew of corners outside of I think Chow Smith-Wade was getting, or Chow Smith-Wade was getting a lot of the run, and I'm still he obviously he could do better, but you would hope for more, especially against USC's receivers, and we'll get into that on Friday, but
Yeah, it's a little concerning. It felt like they were bringing an extra guy when they really started to shut down Portland State, second quarter, third quarter. It felt like, especially in the third quarter, it felt like they were starting to bring an extra guy, and then Portland State just couldn't block an extra guy. And then they were flushing him out, and then it was, he really couldn't find anybody. That worked against Portland State. And again, this is very anecdotal off the top of my head. It's what it seemed like. I could be full of shit, but it's kind of what it seemed like. And yes, sometimes. That's kind of what it seemed like. And, that's probably not going to work against USC or whatever. Certainly didn't work last week. They definitely tried to bring numbers against Utah State and had very minimal success doing that. So I don't know. We'll see. I think I'm like you, right? Like I just still feel incredibly uneasy about the defense. It's nice and they, more or less shut down Portland State through 3 quarters. I think through 3 quarters, they'd only allowed 278 yards, average of 5.1 yards per play.
Yeah, they really, because they got
130
some or 130 yards in the last quarter. Because I remember, what I started doing in a game because it was a pretty, once WSU got up 37-10, that was a pretty boring game.
Yes. Except for that last drive.
Oh, we can't talk about Victor Gabalis coming in for a series.
Good job, buddy.
That was probably not what he wanted.
No. Felt bad for him. I'm like, man, you get a chance to let you throw 3 passes, and then it's just
but from inside your own 10,
right?
And
not even close, right? So
yeah, and so I was thinking, do you think that he's the backup, or it seems like Garantano is hurt then?
Yes,
if he didn't come in.
Yeah, I never doubted whether Garantano was hurt. I know Michael expressed that on the Cougs Center Hour last week. I never doubted that he was actually hurt. I don't think Gabalis is the backup. I think that, I'm as much as I want to say everything Rolovich says is full of shit. He did say Gabalis had a really good, week of practice. He wanted to reward him for that. So I'm going to go ahead and take him at his word on that one. And just say he wanted to get him in there for a series, maybe a couple series, but the one series went so badly. And I'm guessing that Delora talked himself back in for that last series. Cause they wanted to, and I'm guessing Rolovich probably didn't fight him too hard cause, finishing on a high note is nice. And, so they went ahead and did that, the 4th down play and all that stuff.
Yeah. And obviously we're trashing Rolovich at every turn, but, I think that was good to see that, he trusted them with that 4th down because it was 4th and 7. It was no gimme.
Yeah.
And just make a play and remove all doubt.
Yeah.
If you score a touchdown there, because if they kick a field goal, it's still 19, right?
Yeah.
So you still feel some danger.
I guess. There's 2 minutes left in the game. So
I know, right? But still, I think there was a little more than that.
No, it was 2. It was 2 minutes. It was 2 minutes.
Okay. Well, whatever, but still, like you said, finish on a high note.
Yeah.
And if they kick a field goal right there, it doesn't matter. Nothing matters. But if you go for it, get a touchdown, then hell yeah, the crowd, the those of us that stayed to the end, maybe 10,000 of us, maybe less.
Yeah.
We got to see Travell Harris absolutely murder someone, and then catch a wide open touchdown, and Travell Harris gets that. Jaden gets that 3rd touchdown pass to go along with his rushing touchdown.
Yeah, goes over 300 yards.
Goes over 300 yards, which I don't think he's done. Or maybe he did it once last year.
I don't think so.
So it was nice to see Rolo give them that chance, and even better that it worked out.
Well,
because it's fun to watch touchdowns.
I was going to say, apparently he let Delora call the play too. That was Delora's idea to run that play, which if you have been a close air raid watcher over the last, 8 years, right? That is a play that the air raid has run repeatedly to success, which is it's a little in-breaking rub route from the outside receiver. Inside receiver runs a little wheel, and if you pick the guy off, then it's a wide open touchdown. So that's exactly what it was. And, that thing was run to perfection. It was fantastic.
From the 10, that was a touchdown we have seen many times in the last 8 years, right? So it's or whatever, not 8, but 7. Shit, man, time.
Yeah,
time
whatever it was.
So overall, we didn't lose. Bonus. Also whipped them. Bonus.
Yes.
Again. Does this mean we're good? No.
Probably not.
Does it mean that we are not the floor is higher than we thought? Yes. The floor is not as low, not the low
right.
floor.
Right.
So good on that.
And does it mean that maybe we could beat USC? Maybe.
Well, I think so. Overall, yay, good. We won. Well, I think we'll take a break and we'll come back and we'll talk about what the other Pac-12 teams did and how that whole thing is looking pretty different now.
Yes.
One, what you just mentioned, one in particularly stunning result. So yeah, let's take a break. We'll come back and do that.
And we're back.
So Jeff, I was riding. So I was driving back this morning.
Yep.
And / this afternoon, listening to Rabel not tell me what's going on in
not
the
tell you
game.
Any useful piece of information while calling a football
ball
game.
is caught somewhere. 30 seconds later, a 14-yard gain. What? Thank you for that information. Finally, what's the score? How much time is left? I have no idea.
What yard line are they on? Who knows?
So, by about Vantage, I think the game was over, and we were just listening to podcasts. I went with my mom. That was fun. I kind of was like, it's a long drive at that point. I didn't get enough sleep, so I was kind of ready to just kind of take a break from the road, staring at I-90. And so I pulled on in, stopped at our favorite place in Owensburg, Pretty Fair Beer.
Yeah.
Got some lunch, got a beer because I was driving, obviously, a light, nice lowercase Mexican lager. So yeah, that was great, man. Like next week, you might be something. Actually, I don't think they can allow kids quite yet, but they are working on it. But yeah, I hope that you're able to stop in there soon because I got to try their food. I had the mac and cheese. It was very good. My mom really enjoyed her pulled pork sandwich. I was able to grab some. They had some of the our friend Katie, who is pregnant now. I grabbed her some self-care non-alcoholic beer from for her and my sister, who's also pregnant, for the tailgate last week.
Yes.
And I pulled up this week, and she's like, "Did you bring me any more of the Prego beer?" And I was like, "Oh no!" And so I was able to pull, get some of that. And they had, again, a nice looking case. Like there was a lot of good beers in there. Nice list, and so yeah, it was nice. It was fun to be able to stop. But I haven't done that very often. Kind of in all my years of driving back, I usually am just like
plowing on through and get home.
But it was kind of nice to break up the drive, take it, drive a little bit deeper in Ellensburg and kind of just take a break from the road and kind of felt refreshed by the time I got back and get back in the car and ready to go for that last 2-hour stretch back to Tacoma. But yeah, again, I'm a big fan now. Like, you got a place to stop in Ellensburg and Pretty Fair Beer. It's run by Cougs and they're proudly Cougs. And I know they showed the game on Saturday. They opened early on Sunday to show the Seahawks. So they're all about showing those games. They show the Sounders too, all that stuff. So very cool, So highly recommend if you just want to pull over for a bit, grab a bite to eat. I did that today. I caught Tyler at the tail end. He came in, got to say hi to him.
Nice.
So that was cool. Pretty Fair Beer. Again, very impressed. Great tap list. Good food too. Like the first time I went there, I only had some like bean dip, and that was good. But I tried the buffalo chicken dip this time. Very good stuff. And I tried the macaroni and cheese with pulled pork. Very good stuff.
See, that is always a winner. That is by far the best thing to do with leftover pulled pork.
You know what was tragic, and I'm fine. So my mom and I both we took some leftovers, and she accidentally took home my mac and cheese, and I got her sandwich.
Oh.
The sandwich is good for sure, but I was kind of
like,
I
damn
didn't
it,
eat that much of it at the because I've been snacking in the car, so I didn't eat that. So I was like, oh sweet, I can have this for dinner. And when I went to open the container, I'm like, no, but whatever. I'll have a nice pulled pork sandwich on a pretzel bun.
There we go.
And I'll be fine.
There you go.
But yeah, so Pretty Fair beer, Cougs beer, good craft beer. As I've said before, that they do not carry anything that directly distributes to Ellensburg. So you're getting stuff there that they go and drive and pick up themselves. Like, so they drive to Bellingham, they drive to Tumwater, they drive down to Sunnyside for varietal, they drive all over the place to bring in like beer that you just can't get. Obviously, they drive over to Seattle, get Holy Mountain, which is obviously you and I, one of our favorite breweries, and so it's very cool. They had a great list again. Very impressed. There were some people in there just chilling, having a nice Sunday. They had the patio open. It was a beautiful, absolutely beautiful day. Like, it was driving back from Pullman, everywhere it's just like 75 and sunny. You're like, I wish I could just stay here for a bit longer, but I gotta get home. But yeah, but it was nice to break up the drive. That's a little past halfway at that point, especially if you live south of Seattle like I do. There's still a couple 2+ hours to go after that. So it was nice to break it up because, about, hour 4 in that drive can be pretty rough, especially when you're at the Coug pretty late. So, yeah, Pretty Fair beer. Check it out again. But on that note, speaking of beer, what are you drinking, man?
So my Pretty Fair beer of the podcast is...
Ooh.
Yeah, you like that?
There you go.
Yeah, so this is the Fata Morgana by Omnipolo. It is
Omnipolo. Nothing but excess from that brewery.
It is, well, yeah. It is a first. This is a first for me, I think, unless you've given me one before and I don't remember. This is a quadruple IPA, packing a whopping 12%. And I've drank about 3/4 of it, maybe 2/3 of it. So if I'm starting to sound a little fun, that would be why. It's good. It's got a little bite on the back end. It's pretty bitter, pretty darn bitter, but pretty.
You got to be, otherwise that
yes.
thing will be so sweet,
yes,
and so ethanol driven. Like, it'd just be, it'd be bad if you didn't. So
the first few sips, I was like, wow, that's bitter, and then now my tongue has been whipped into shape, let's say. And so now I'm just sort of enjoying it, but yeah, it's good. It's good. I'm enjoying it actually. I just saw it at Rainer Growlers and I was like, I don't know, man, a quad IPA, sure, why not? So here we are.
You have some real quads, a real nice set of quads. Trying a beer like that. That's a reference for all my Mass Effect fans out there. Rex would be proud.
What about you, man?
So yeah, I just cracked another one, but earlier I was drinking, just finished off. So it's fresh hop season, obviously, just kicking in. Those beers are starting to trickle in.
Yep.
Over the last couple weeks, just a unique and wonderful time of year, and we get it to the extreme here because obviously, I think anyone who listens to this podcast has heard the stat where like 70% of the hops in the U.S. come from the Yakima Valley, the Moxie area mostly. So we get all the breweries around here, Portland, from Portland and Seattle, it's just fresh hop city, or Portland to, Vancouver, really, Vancouver, BC, and then over to Spokane and to Idaho, just anyone that can drive to Yakima and then drive back and brew with those hops that day, like
it's pretty impressive.
It's set up to make fresh hop beers. So how to really, I think I've expressed to you my affinity for fresh hop beers that aren't IPAs.
Yes.
Or pale ales.
Yep.
And so what I just drank, yeah, but it's becoming more and more as non-IPA styles are becoming more in vogue again.
Yes.
I think, like Pilsner Fest forever.
Yes.
But what I had today, Worlds Collide, I've had a few of these in the past. I just love when breweries do it. From Level Beer in Portland, Fresh Hop Oktoberfest.
Ooh.
Just a delicious beer. I think it was more on the Fest beer style than the Marzen style, so it's a little lighter, and it just is perfectly done. Fresh hops, it's better when they are not the only hop in there, because they can get very vegetal. Mm-hmm. I can tell that it was as an addition, and that's when you have the best fresh hop beers, when it's just some of the hops are fresh hops, so you get those fresh hop notes without the overwhelming kind of like vegetal taste of the fresh hop, right. Like you're tasting the actual like flower, So because that's what can happen with the fresh hop beers a lot, because they're just so potent. Like the hops are so potent coming out. So yeah, this delicious beer, highly recommend if you see the Level Beer fresh hop. They have pretty good distribution, at least in our area. Yeah. You see Level more and more. They have real cool branding. It's it's video game. Yep. So it appeals to me.
Of course.
So yeah, really enjoy that. And I'm staying on the fresh hop train. I'm now, we mentioned Holy Mountain earlier. I'm having a Holy Mountain Strata. That was the first fresh hop beer they've released this year. Shout out to Brad and for getting me this beer, running up to Holy Mountain and picking it up for me, and then enjoying some of the tailgate with me.
By the way, also shout out to Brad for, I think, texting me. I don't have his phone number in my phone, and he sent me a video of you at the Coug. I'm pretty sure it was Brad that sent it.
Yeah. Probably one of the many icings that happened at the Coug on Saturday night.
Yes, it was. That was one of them.
Oh, man. Yeah, I think yeah.
So, yeah, shout out, Brad. Thanks for sending me those. I appreciate that.
And Brian and Gingy. We were holding down the Coug.
I loved it. I couldn't believe how sparse it was at the Coug. Holy crap.
That was pretty late, my man.
Yeah, it had to have been. Holy smokies.
That was pretty
I don't
late.
think I've ever seen the Coug with that many people in it.
When it's an early, well, you must not have stayed for many summer sessions then.
No, I did not.
That's the best. That's the best time.
Did not.
That's
stay
the best
for
time at the Coug. Yeah. Is summer session. You're basically like keeping it open with every beer you buy, because they're otherwise gonna. If you leave, they're gonna. If you leave, they're gonna just close up shop.
Yeah.
But yeah, we had. So I actually saw the bartender that was working on the day of my engagement was there. She wasn't working. She came in later, as she was just getting a beer or a drink, and she came, said something real nice to me to mention, I remember you coming in. That was such a cool day, all that stuff. So really nice. I don't remember your name. I'm sorry if you're listening or if she's your friend. I don't know. She's very nice. They're a very nice person, and it was nice to see her again, because again that was a wonderful day, and she helped make it that way. Also, shout out to the Cougs staff who was doing a great job with our icings. I thought I was getting kicked out because one of the staff comes over to me and says, "Hey, that beer, you can't drink that beer." And I was like, "Oh no, what did I do?" And then he goes, "'Cause you have to drink this." And he throws it down on the table, the Smirnoff. I'm like, why did I adopt all these frat bro tendencies in my mid-30s when I have 2 kids? I don't know. But here we are.
That's why. See, when I was in the fraternity, when I was in college, I got all that out of my system, right? Like, you're like getting it all. You're packing it all in now. It's good.
Exactly. But yeah, it was. It's fun not to be pissed about a football game.
Yes.
and celebrating and just
part
having a good time. Yeah, it's nice just to not give a shit about what happened at the football game after the football game. Just like whatever. We won. That's all that matters. We won by a lot. That's what we needed to do. Not that we needed to do it, but that's what you need to do to feel, good. And so it was a good time. The Coug again, and I was just having fun, and I'm excited to go back in like 4 days.
Yes,
to Pullman, week 3. I think the week after I'll be pretty happy not to drive to Pullman. But,
yes,
but I'm ready. I'm hyped for week 3. And yeah, speaking of that week 3 opponent, in holy shit.
That is the only way to describe that. That's the only way to describe. Which is like, by the way, that is the only way that you could possibly. What's amazing is we're both like, holy shit, that might be the most surprising result from the weekend. And the weekend included Oregon beating Ohio State in Ohio.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, USC getting blown out
and like
by
not
Stanford.
just beating them, just like fucking whipping them, man.
Yeah.
So USC blown out by Stanford. I actually didn't watch much of the game, so I don't know how it happened. But you look at the stats; they were pretty even. So maybe I'm guessing Stanford. I think they might have had a pick six or something, and they probably did better in the red zone, all that. So yeah, it was just a stunning result because I did not think Stanford had that in them.
No.
Stanford was looking pretty bad last year and this year. So David Shaw does pulls one out of his hat again, and that is a nice rivalry that has produced some surprising results in the past. So it was. Once again, the Pac-12 eating itself.
Yes.
Which is what we are.
As always.
I can't wait for Oregon to lose to some random team later this year.
Yep.
Just to ruin all the goodwill.
Yep.
But yeah, so the one thing it makes me feel is like maybe USC is a lot more vulnerable than we realized. If they can lose to Stanford, who I think that WSU and Stanford, we talked about this in our season preview, are probably at pretty similar levels. So if WSU is playing at its best, it has more of a chance to be. I feel like they have more of a chance to be USC than I did, 2 days ago.
Yeah.
So that's nice. It makes me drink a little more of the Kool-Aid. It makes me look forward to the game a little more next week.
Yeah. I mean, Slovis only had 220 yards on 42 attempts. Like, that's not good.
That's not good.
That's not good. So, I don't, I didn't watch the game. I watched a little bit of it at the beginning, and then didn't watch any more of it. So I don't know exactly what happened. It seemed like, okay, so
yeah, I was like watching it with my mom, and we were at the hilltop, like watching, just sitting in their little lounge area and watching on a TV with some other people.
Yeah,
but we weren't really paying attention.
I mean, I did see the long touchdown run. By Stanford that sort of started the game. But
and by the way, at USC too.
And it's, I think the biggest thing is that Stanford's quarterback did not suck. I think that's kind of the biggie, to be honest. They apparently have found somebody who can throw the ball. So, he only threw it 23 times. So that was,
been a while.
Yeah, like he had 23 pass attempts. They had 30 rushing attempts.
David Shaw.
Now I also don't know.
David Shaw's back.
Yeah, I'm guessing it was maybe more like 50-50. Let me look at sacks. Okay, SC didn't have any sacks, but the quarterback rushed the ball 4 times for 7 yards. So I'm guessing those were scrambles.
I mean, 50-50. This.
So you're probably looking
age
at
50, of college football. 50-50 is a running.
So you're probably looking at 50-50 roughly. Probably 27 passes and 26 rushes is probably what you had from Stanford. So yeah, I mean, I don't know, man. If I'm USC,
Arizona,
if I'm a USC fan, I'm about apoplectic at this point over Clay Helton.
Yeah, Helton. Maybe we could. Maybe Helton could be left on the Pullman Moscow Airport tarmac. Also, very good tweet. Whoever, I think it was Michael. It's not a very wide tarmac, so beware. But
it's a good one.
Also, some of the other ones, Arizona, as bad as we thought, maybe worse. Got absolutely whipped by San Diego State.
Yep.
Utah losing to BYU in Provo. That's not a great result for the conference.
No. Yeah, BYU was. I watched
Big 12 team.
Yeah,
BYU.
I watched most of that game. BYU. That was for my money. That game is as good of a rivalry game as there is anywhere. Like
with a great name.
With a great name. It is. it is personal.
Holy war for those people that
it
don't
is
know.
Personal, and it is hate-filled, and it is and it's like the nicest hate too, right? Because you got all the Mormons up there in at BYU, and they are just like, oh, it's so sweet, and also we will slit your throat. It's like as I'm watching the game. So yeah, that was a really fun game to watch. Utah looked fairly iffy. Quarterback play looked. So I don't know how to feel about that one since we played both of those teams this year.
Right.
I suppose I would have liked the Pac-12
BYU was one of our 50-50 games.
Yeah, maybe not 50-50.
Yeah.
Maybe not.
So the Huskies, their offense is putrid.
Man, I really thought they had a shot in that game. I picked them. They were sort of my upset special when I was doing my picks for the weekend. That did not come to, which I mean, I'm not sad about, but I'm just like, holy crap. I really expected them to show a little better than that. And they did not. They did not. They were kind of starting to turn it around a little bit in the third quarter. They had a nice little drive. And then Michigan came and they scored a touchdown, and then Michigan came back, and Morris actually looked pretty good on that drive. Mm-hmm. Michigan comes back and they get a stop around midfield, and then the corner for Washington decides to taunt. Very not even like, I mean, look, in Jeff's perfect world, there's no such thing as a taunting penalty. Like, it just doesn't even exist. Like, we just don't even give them. But in college football world, they do give them, and this one was a pretty obvious one, and it gave Michigan a first down, and then they scored a touchdown, and then Michigan just I don't know, man, they must have scored. Washington came back and was a mess on the next drive, and then Michigan scored another touchdown, and I think they may have finished the game like on a 21-0 run or something.
Yeah.
And they sort of, Washington sort of fell apart after that. And yeah, I mean, you hate to see it. Jimmy Lake, boy, poor guy. I feel terrible for him.
Poor guy.
It must be real rough.
Yeah. So kind of keeping a trend of, except for one game, it was a pretty bad day for the conference after, they had built up some, good will, with LSU, UCLA, but it was, yeah, you get narrow. Cal loses TCU.
Close game though.
Man, that Colorado A&M.
Yeah,
wow.
That would have been that would have been huge.
That would have been huge. I think we were watching it before we went in. They were up 7-0, and they were looking good too. Like they were hitting A&M. But it's a bummer to have it fall. You lose it at the end because that was all the points you were getting. Obviously, like the WSU result. I think that ASU or UNLV and Oregon State or Hawaii, no one gives a crap about those on a national perspective because they're just like taking care of business against teams they should whip on, right? But yeah, when you couple like the San Diego State destroying Arizona, Utah losing to BYU, one of your top teams losing to Stanford, you got Washington getting destroyed by Michigan. But then there's the one.
Which honestly I think is the only one that matters, to be real.
Oregon just looking every bit the part, especially that defensive line. My goodness, I am not looking forward to that defensive line against our offensive line. That is terrifying. That defensive line just whipped Ohio State's offensive line. It was so impressive.
Without Thibodeau,
which was insane. Without the best defensive
without
end,
the guy who might be the number one pick in the NFL draft next year. Without that guy, right? He's a junior.
And so
right?
Oregon gets a nice.
Maybe he's a sophomore.
Yeah,
is he only a sophomore?
No, I think it'll be 3 years. You have to be 3 years out of college.
Yes.
So he'll be 3 years out of college after this season, so he'll be able to go.
I'm just.
I mean, you have to be 3 years out of high school.
Right.
Sorry, not college.
I'm just making sure that he's a junior. So yes, 3 years out of high school. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, and now they're sitting pretty. They're ranked 4. This is the win that the Pac-12 has just not gotten in years.
And it's really the only one that matters because, and I know like everything else is whatever, but now that Oregon has,
the ACC model, you have the one top team that beats up on everyone, and you get Clemson in the college football playoff every year.
And if you beat Oregon, it's not that Oregon is overrated; it's that maybe the rest of the conference is good, right? It's like that's
instead of like, oh, Oregon fucked it up. It's like, well, it's a deep. Now we're a deep conference because Oregon has that win, which honestly, Ohio State never loses in Columbus.
Yeah, they haven't lost a regular season game in 2 years, right? And they hadn't lost in Columbus.
Yeah, they don't lose anywhere, let alone Columbus.
They hadn't lost in Columbus in forever.
Like that's an impressive win of a Pac-12 conference team in a long time.
Yeah.
I can't even.
It's been a while.
Remember, especially a regular season win.
Yep. So it's
because obviously like Oregon beat Florida State in the college football playoffs, so like that was impressive. But to go into Columbus and win is we were watching. That was the one that I watched the most of. On Saturday because we were just that started right about when we were, it was in it while we were tailgating, and that was fun. We were watching it, and that was a fun one to follow. And they hung on, and it's like we're rooting for them because you gotta have some sort of pride at some point. I also thought it was funny. I think maybe this was the first benefit of the alliance. Maybe Ohio State was like, well, we need to help out our alliance brethren because Ohio State could run the table and still make the college football playoff.
If they run the table, they will still make the college football playoff. They will be fine.
But Pac-12, we needed that win. So thanks, Alliance Bros. I'm doing a fist bump right now. Thank you, Alliance, for giving us that win. So like you said, the Pac-12 just because of that one win. And honestly, if Colorado would have beat A&M, geez, that would have been like cherry on the top. If they would have got that win too, 2 top 10 wins in the same weekend over SEC, and then the SEC North team, it would have just been amazing. But like you said, you got that win, so everything is justified. It's the same thing as what happened in the NCAA tournament for basketball last year. Now the Pac-12 is legitimate. So the narrative for the entire basketball season this year is flipped to where every time a Pac-12 team beats another Pac-12 team, well, it's just a tough conference. Right. Versus if you don't get these types of wins over in the non-conference schedule, it's once again those top teams are screwing up. They're messing up, losing to these awful teams in their conference. So, maybe if Oregon slips up at some point, they don't get penalized quite as much as they would have before. Also, I have to point out, I forgot to mention Ryan Leaf's 12-0 for UW is looking real bad at this point. But as when I called him out on Twitter, I said during the last week's game, I said he picked him 12-0 and I said, maybe he did it to jinx them. To jinx them. That would be legendary Cougs stuff. And he replied, of course. So shout out to Ryan. That's right. That's pretty funny reply. Right. That's perfect reply.
I love
it. Go Cougs. Just don't wear that shirt ever again,
God.
man.
Although if wearing that shirt is what it took, if that's what it took.
he got the bad he brought the bad magic, the black magic to
little voodoo action. Yeah, we're all right. I dig it.
So because Oregon beat OSU, great weekend for the Pac-12.
Honestly,
and the Cougs won.
I'm 100% serious when I say I think that's all that matters. Like, if
and like I said, if Colorado would have held on against A&M, that would have been huge as well.
That's what people are going to remember. They are not going to remember.
But no one really cares if Cal beats.
Nobody's going to remember that USC lost to Stanford. Nobody's going to remember. Let's say
Stanford's going to remember.
Well, Stanford's going to remember. I just mean I'm just talking national. Like now, when we talk about all this perception stuff, and it's entirely stupid that everything rests on these ridiculous early season non-conference games because like nobody is playing their best football right now. Right. So there's just some like crazy randomness. Like I remember Oregon's game, what was it? 2-3 years ago against Auburn. Right. And they lost right at the end. And I'm just like, and people were like, oh man, Oregon just can't get over the hump. And I'm like, it's all just so random. It's just randomness. Like, are you kidding me? Like Oregon had that game won and then they didn't. And you're going to be like, make these grand proclamations about how good they are or are not based off of whether they gave up a touchdown in the last second or not. Like, I don't know, man. So but that is how it works. And as you said, Oregon shot up the rankings, which is your best shot at being ranked highly early is your best shot at, getting into the playoffs. So, I hope Oregon gets in. It's better for everybody, honestly. If Oregon gets in, I think they're probably our only, they may not be our only shot,
Definitely.
but probably our only shot. Probably, right?
Else?
Like probably the conference's only shot.
No one else is ranked, right? No one else is ranked.
Yeah,
right now, right?
I think so. And we started out with 4 or 5 teams ranked, right?
Yeah, because Utah's not ranked anymore. USC's not ranked anymore. Oh, ASU's still ranked.
They were all ranked pretty low to start the year, so it's not like one loss would not.
ASU's at 19 right now,
and it's not going to stay that way. But and ASU definitely, I mean, doesn't look that good. They look okay, but they certainly didn't.
UNLV
they certainly didn't annihilate UNLV. They beat UNLV by about the same margin as we beat Portland State. So, for whatever that's worth.
Touchdown more.
One touchdown. Well, but yeah, we also gave up a touchdown. Whatever. Right? Like they scored like Portland State.
We've made it we've now made it a tradition to give up a late last second touchdown, I guess. So we're just going to expect that going forward. And sometimes it decides the game, but sometimes it just ensures that you're definitely not covered. Well, they weren't going to cover. The only point, there was a line came out. I think it was 31 points for the Cougs, like on Saturday. It never felt like they were going to cover that.
Not to me.
They were up 37-10. You're like, okay, maybe they could do it, but you knew we were going to start bringing in the backups, and so that was not gonna last. But so yeah, all in all, that Oregon OSU game was also just a great college football game. That was super fun to watch. 2 very talented, very good teams, like punching each other, making big plays. Just a bunch of NFL dudes everywhere. Like it was, that was a really fun game to watch. So, I love these types of games. I hope we get more of them, man. Like with the Alliance. Let's do it.
Yes, the Alliance. Let's see what else. Volleyball, soccer.
Well, let's volleyball invited a bunch of teams to Pullman just to kick their ass.
Play a bunch of games and beat them all up, I guess.
So volleyball played 3 games. They had the Cougar Challenge where they invited Northern Iowa, Gonzaga, and Long Beach State. They played them all on Friday and Thursday and Friday. Didn't lose a single set. 9-0. Just they needed those wins too. They had a tough start to the season on the road. So it was nice to come home. That opening loss to South Carolina was rough. Then they played a couple top 10 teams, and lost those. But yeah, to come out and just whoop up on 3, teams and that team up north, is always good. Yep.
It is, and is good, like kind of course correction for their season, just a little bit. They got off to a bit of a rocky start. They had some games that were close, and it looked like, or matches, I guess. They had some matches that were close.
Individual sets in particular, where they had some tide turning set losses where they were 25-23 type stuff, or they blew a late lead in the set or whatever.
Yep. So, it's good for them to get back on track. They started the year ranked pretty high. I want to say like 16, 17, something like that. And then started the year, 0-3, 0-4 or something like that. And just, it just like seemed like, again, a little, we talk about randomness and luck a lot. I just felt kind of like they were on the wrong end of some randomness, that they're better than that. So it was nice to see them come home and, beat the crap out of some people, especially Gonzaga, and maybe get their season back on a good track.
And the soccer team had a mixed bag. Tough loss to Seattle.
That was some bullshit.
Largely dominating the match, but in classic soccer fashion, you fuck up twice, and of course they convert both of those into goals, and you lose. So.
Yeah. So both of those goals were, not to be too harsh, but they were pretty much both entirely on the keeper. And the keeper, was kind of late coming out to get a ball, and then blundered, blew the handling of the ball, and then it kind of bounced over her head, and then Seattle U was just basically tapping them into the net. So basically, it was just sort of like free kicks into chaos. I think one of them was a free kick. Anyway, just kind of putting the ball into chaos and then hoping something happened, and that's pretty much what it was. And that's all that was pretty much all that Seattle U had. Meanwhile, of course, Wazoo was putting a full on assault onto the Seattle U goal and didn't get enough of them in, and so they ended up losing that game. So today against Kansas, goalkeeper change. So that I don't know if that's permanent, or if that was just a one game, hey, take a break after Thursday. But yeah, that'll be an interesting thing to kind of keep an eye on. They fly out to Kansas, beat the crap out of the Jayhawks, which apparently the Jayhawks football team is about the same as the football team. And like what I did there? That's that quadruple IPA kicking in right there is what that is.
Yeah. That's when the puns started happening.
So I don't know. Good win. Really good win. You go on the road and I don't even care I have no idea how good Kansas is at women's soccer, but going on the road, flying out to Kansas, 3 days after you had a really sort of loss that kind of pisses you off, to go out and just beat the shit out of a Big 12 team is pretty good.
Yeah. I think it's always a good sign when you're getting no yellows. So you didn't have to take a yellow at any point where, to break up an attack or whatever. So that, they outshot them, they out-cornered, they
dominated.
They did all that. Their keeper had to make 6 saves on top of the 3 goals. Like, that's domination. So that's good stuff. Good to see them get back on track. That very disappointing loss on Thursday. One thing to point out, like, WCU's been getting some pretty good crowds. They had over almost 1,200 people at Seattle U. They had 4,000 almost at the opening match against Arkansas State. When I was there was at least a couple thousand people. I'm for sure. Like, it was a nice crowd. If you look at KU, the official attendance was 304. So we kind of appreciate what's going on with this program. There's definitely some excitement about it. And it's legit. If you can get to a match, like, they have a great atmosphere. Instead of doing that's another Cougar first down, they do that's another Cougar corner kick. So that's pretty fun. And if you're missing the rah 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 thing, that they still use that at the
that'd be
soccer
worth a
games.
drive
They
all
don't
by
use them
itself.
at football. They were not using that football game.
What are we doing?
I don't know. It's weird. I honestly don't know.
Man.
Because that's my favorite thing to do after that's another Cougar first down, and then to yourself you go like,
I know.
but yeah, so very cool. Also, Seattle U, not a super slouch.
No.
Not a slouch. They go to the tournament quite a bit.
They're a quality team.
They're. I mean, these individual results aside, I would think they're probably better than Kansas by margin. But also in that match, like we said, or similar, like it's just. I don't know what's with, like, every keeper that WSU is playing this year is just out of their mind, like, playing their greatest game of all time. Because, Seattle U had 9 saves in that match. Like, that's a big
That's
number.
a lot.
Like, 9 saves
So
is
for people who don't
number.
watch a lot of soccer, like, if a keeper has, like, 2, 3, 4 saves, like, that's pretty typical. You start getting above, like, 2, 3, 4 saves, because most shots don't end up, what we say, on frame, right? So, like, a lot of shots don't end up, where the keeper actually is keeping the ball from going into the goal. So to have 9 saves, that's a lot, man. That's a lot. Or sorry, nine shots on target, 6 saves. Like, that's a lot of shots on target. So
no, 9 shots.
Oh, 9 saves. Right.
10 shots on target. So the goal and 9 saves. So they had 10 shots on target, which is a lot.
There we go.
And they had 25 total shots, which is a lot. It's so both of their, their disappointing results this year, they've dominated the match. Like the Arkansas draw and the Seattle loss, they're two non-wins this year. Both they dominated the game, but they made a mistake to allow the other team to score, and then they just didn't convert the chances. But otherwise, in the other games, they've converted chances. That 4 goals, 3 goals, 7 goals, 3 goals. So, even though those losses are disappointing, and they ultimately may have impact on tournament seeding and getting into the tournament, whatever. So that could be something to watch. But I just watching them, they're very good. I feel like they're going to do pretty well in conference play. Their next 2 games, I think, next 2 matches should be wins. They're going to Colorado for a couple games, Denver and Northern Colorado. So get a couple wins there. Go into and just and get the necessary wins. I think that they look like a really solid team. The way they are dominating these matches, even the ones where they're not getting the results. Like I think that they're going to do well. Like unless they just have that bug this year where every keeper is playing out of their goddamn mind whenever they play them, but because that does seem to be happening, and sometimes that just happens. These are short seasons. You just get a lot of random shit happening. Yep.
And over time, like generating quality chances is going to result in goals over time. So, you and I watch a lot of soccer, and so people who don't watch a lot of soccer, there's a stat called XG, which is expected goals, right? Like, so it tries to assign a number to a shot from any given point on the field and the percentage chance that shot normally goes in, right? So like a player takes a shot from that spot, goes in, 20% of the time or whatever. So that'd be worth 0.2 XG, right? So you add it all up. I don't, as far as I know, there's no college soccer XG, but the Cougars would be dominating that. And obviously that's not where you win. You win on the actual score line, but it's the sort of thing that makes you feel like, okay.
And that's why soccer is fun to watch and frustrating to watch. And it's just, because a team can be absolutely dominated and still have a chance because there's just so much like weird shit that can happen. You could like the individuality of a keeper having a great day, or just we watched the last Sounders match against the Timbers that you and I went to together. For all of our Timbers fans, yes, y'all beat the Sounders.
God damn
Congrats!
I'm still not over it.
But all the shots off the post, literally inches away from score, like a few inches here or there from scoring like 4 goals in that game, and then end up ultimately being shut out, and in the goal right in front of us.
That game was cursed as hell.
Yep, it was. But yeah, so yeah, it's just it's a wild sport to watch, and WSU. They've had some unfortunate outcomes despite dominating matches so far. But then you see games like Hawaii and Kansas where they're just so dominant that it's just they're going to destroy the other team, and the goals are going to happen eventually.
And they are happening.
Yeah,
if you're going to get unlucky, it's better, honestly, better to get unlucky against Arkansas State and Seattle U than say USC, UCLA, Stanford, any of the Washington, any of the quality teams in the Pac-12. Like those are the teams you really want to, so if we hope that, and obviously there's nothing logical behind what I'm about to say, but if you're like, okay, we got to get unlucky there, maybe we get lucky over here. Like I'd rather get lucky over here than over there. So.
Yeah. So, all right, let's get some luck going in Pac-12 play and crush it. I am bummed that October 24th game, that's the day after the BYU, is at 5 p.m. Like, do us a favor and put that 1 o'clock, right?
No kidding.
so I can stay in Pullman and watch it. Because otherwise, like, getting home at like 1 o'clock in the morning if I leave after that. But there is October 10th as well, 1 p.m. A lot of you might be going back for homecoming.
Yes.
Check it out. Check them out. Stay for an extra, or come if you're a tailgater, come early. There's some Thursday games, before, like USC October 21st, Stanford October 7th. Come early, watch them, because it's a fun atmosphere. It's cool, and they're good. And like Mickey Jimenez and Elise Bennett are fucking incredible. So like, I highly recommend checking them out. They're a fun team to watch. Also watch the streams. It's a nice. So if you're not into soccer, it's kind of a nice an entry level into it, because you're always going to root for the Cougs. So you're at the very least have a rooting interest, and that's how Jeff and I got into soccer. We had the rooting interest in the Sounders, we had a rooting interest in the U.S. soccer teams, and then we just picked Dortmund, and we picked Tottenham, whatever, and so now we're just like obsessed, and I watch more soccer than any other sport combined probably, and it's fun, like and it's really cool that WSU has a badass soccer program. Like it's super fun.
Yeah, they are.
And so Jeff, what'd I say? Let's try to get this under an hour.
We almost did it.
Nope. We almost did it. No, we didn't.
We're kind of we're kind of
not even close.
Kind of close.
Anything else you want to talk about? I don't think so. I think we're good. So I'm at the Craig Powers on Twitter. Oh, I did have there was a question. Maybe I should tap on that real quick. We did get an email question, and so you can send your email questions at podcastvseveryone@gmail.com. So we got a question from Dave Malone about, and I think we can answer this fairly quickly. Dave says, I appreciate your discussion of Leach era mental toughness versus today. After this game against Portland State, on a scale of 1 to 10, what would you rate the Cougars' mental toughness, and what is your reasoning? That sounds like an essay prompt on a high school English test, right?
I like that.
Maybe Dave's a teacher.
I don't know. 5? I'll just kind of split it down the middle. I don't think this game really showed us anything in terms of mental toughness.
Yeah, they were just better than the other team.
I mean, good that they...
And there wasn't much adversity.
Yes.
Like, I guess Jaden threw a pick earlier. You can spiral after that. I think Jaden is pretty mentally tough, because I think he just has an insane amount of hubris.
I would agree with that. I think that is... I think that is about the best way possible to put him. And then they sorted some stuff out. So that was good. Especially, like I said, the offensive line sorting some stuff out, getting some assignments right.
Yeah, I would say generally on the Leach teams we were like a 9 to 10.
I would think so.
Especially the 2015 through 2018, 19 even crew. Yep. I'd say 5, middle of the road. They came back, and it didn't seem like the Utah State game bothered them. They didn't come out flat. They didn't have a good first drive, but still, they were excited to play. They were excited to get out there. That's good. after you suffer a bad loss. So they're definitely not at a 1 to 4, like not a 1 or 2. I think you were right, like right in the middle, and then TBD going forward. Good question, Dave. I liked it. So if you want to send a question, like I said, at podcast vs everyone, all spelled out. You can put the dots between them if you want. It doesn't matter on Gmail. I don't know if you know that. Jeff taught me that. The dots don't mean anything. They're mostly for, it makes it easier to, show people, give them email address. But, podcast vseveryone@gmail.com. Send us your questions, your comments, your nice things, your mean things, whatever. You might get a snarky comment if you send a mean thing. I know Jeff likes to do that. So if you want a snarky comment, send us an email, man. And then, so if you want to follow me on Twitter, at the Craig Powers, if you want to follow Jeff on Twitter, at pod vs everyone. On my trips to Pullman, I'm pretty active on Instagram, especially my stories. You can follow me, at Craig W. Powers. And then you can see all my beer and my kids and all that too, if you want. But I do post about the Cougs, especially during football season, quite a bit. So yeah, I think that's it. That's all. Nothing else to plug. Thank you, Randy England, as always, for the music, at Randy England Music. Thank you, Pretty Fair Beer, for sponsoring our beer segment. Check them out in Ellensburg, downtown Ellensburg. And I think that's it, Jeff. So go
Cougs, Craig. Black Lives Matter.
Black Lives Matter, and of course, get
vaccinated.